Hello everyone. Today I want to sit down and share with you 3 very simple tips for sharpening knives. First, let's test this dull knife on a tomato. As you can see, instead of gliding smoothly, this knife feels like it's wrestling with the poor tomato. Trying to slice it sounds more like clashing steel than a clean cut. But don't worry. That's exactly why I want to show you a few easy and effective ways anyone can try right at home. And the very first trick, believe me, it works better than you might expect. I have 2 brand new CD discs, still sitting inside a CD pouch. What I actually need here are just the discs inside, not the pouch itself. Normally, they'd only be used for music or left forgotten in a drawer. But this time is different, because in a moment, they'll be turned into a surprisingly clever knife sharpening tool. Now, I'll put glue around the backside of one disc. I'm using liquid glue, because once spread out, it keeps the surface smooth without bumps or trapped dust, which helps the sandpaper stick evenly and firmly. I have prepared 400 grit sandpaper. Place the sandpaper onto the glued surface. Then press it evenly by hand so it sticks firmly. After that, I use scissors to trim off the excess paper around the edge, keeping it neat. I take my time with this step, carefully following the curve so it doesn't look sloppy, and making sure no rough corners stick out. It's a small detail, but it makes the whole thing look cleaner and more put together in the end. Next, I'll cut away the extra sandpaper around the center hole of the CD. At the center hole of the disc, I use a utility knife to cut away the extra sandpaper. I repeat the same steps of the second disc, and now we have 2 identical pieces. Here I have a set of hardware, 1 bolt, 2 metal washers, and 1 nut. These are very common pieces. You can easily find them at any hardware store, usually for just a few cents. First, slide a washer onto the bolt. Then place 1 CD disc in, with the sandpaper side facing inward. Add the second disc, with both sandpaper sides facing each other. Put the second washer on top and screw on the nut. To make it tighter, I use pliers to twist the nut further. And that's it. Our homemade knife sharpener is ready. Pretty simple, right? Now I'll attach it to the drill. Remember that dull knife in the beginning? I'll show a mock motion to demonstrate the sharpening technique. Then I switch on the drill and sharpen it for real. Once done, I hold the knife to feel its edge. I use a tissue to carefully wipe the entire blade clean. Make sure to clean both sides of the blade, especially along the cutting edge, then set aside for the testing stage. I take a fresh tomato and begin slicing. This time, the blade glides the thin skin without catching and moves down into the flesh smoothly, almost with no effort at all. The difference compared to the beginning is remarkable. Clearly, this method works. With that result, we're ready to move on to the second tip. For the second method, I choose a knife with a slightly longer blade, just to see if the results might change with a different type of knife. Before doing anything else, I test it on a fresh tomato. As soon as the edge touches the thin skin, it does cut through, but not without effort. Instead of gliding smoothly, I find myself having to apply a bit of extra pressure. The cut isn't very clean. The tomato ends up slightly squashed rather than neatly sliced. In other words, the blade is sharp enough to cut at force, but it doesn't have the crisp sharpness we're aiming for. Now, I take an old AA battery that no longer works. It may look like trash, but its smooth metal surface is perfect for this trick. Use a utility knife to cut away the plastic wrapper. To do this, I use a pair of diagonal cutting pliers, gripping the edge firmly and making a small cut to open a gap. From that opening, I continue bending the metal outward, peeling it off section by section until the entire shell comes loose. Next, I use a utility knife to carefully cut away the plastic wrapper around the battery. I score a straight line along the side, applying just enough pressure to slice the wrapper without slipping. Then, I peel the plastic off slowly, revealing the metal core underneath. Once the outer layer is completely removed, we're left with a smooth, clean surface that's ready to be used for sharpening. And here it is. The smooth inner body is what we need. The blade rests at a slight angle, moving in steady, long strokes. It's only a mock motion, but it shows the technique clearly. Next, apply some toothpaste and spread it evenly on the knife blade. Use your finger or a soft cloth to spread it evenly, making sure the entire surface of the blade is covered with a thin layer. Toothpaste contains tiny abrasive particles that act like a polishing compound, removing fine rust, grime, and dullness while bringing back some shine. Once it's evenly coated, the blade has a smooth layer that makes the sharpening process more effective and safer. Time to sharpen for real, directly on the battery. Let me tell you this interesting story. In World War II, American soldiers had a bizarre trick, sharpening knives on Jeep wheels. Picture it, one soldier smoking calmly, the other dragging his knife back and forth along the steel rim, laughing, "Mobile sharpening service, free of charge. Just bring gas." Who knew a wheel meant for rolling could double as a battlefield whetstone? Meanwhile, on the other side, a Japanese pilot stranded on a deserted island had no tools, just the wreck of his plane. Desperate, he turned the bent aluminum propeller into a sharpener. Ridiculous as it sounds, the blade came out sharp enough to carve wood, set traps, and slice what little food he could find. A propeller that once carried him through the skies, now serving as a jungle kitchen tool. The lesson? In survival, humans can turn almost anything into a sharpening tool. Back then, it was wheels and propellers. Today, we're lucky. Just a dab of toothpaste and an old battery can bring your kitchen knife back to life. No Jeep or crashed airplane required. When finished, I wipe the blade clean with a tissue, then feel the edge. when my hand lightly glided across the surface of the blade. I felt the sharpness just enough to get ready for the testing step. It feels so satisfying. The blade glides through the paper without a hitch. That soft swish almost sounds like a tiny soundtrack, smooth and precise. The cut is so clean it's as if the paper willingly splits itself. Smooth and easy. Try it on a tomato. Much sharper now. And the final test of the second method is surprisingly simple. But whether it's truly impressive or not, you'll have to wait and see. And for fun, I slashed through a hanging water bottle. The result is impressive. So let's move to the final trick. For the last method, I test another dull knife on a tomato. Still very difficult, meaning we need a stronger tool. I gently touch the tip of my finger against the knife's edge, and the first thing I notice is nothing. No sharpness, no hint of danger. There are 3 types of grinding discs. The first one is a fish, scale disc, not what we need. The second is a metal grinding stone, works by grinding away the dull surface, also not suitable here. The last one is a flap disc, and that's exactly what we need. It is perfect for grinding, cleaning, and polishing metal surfaces. It also saves time by combining grinding and polishing in one step. I mounted onto the grinder. Funny thing, this morning my kid came running into the garage, carrying half a box of random screws and bolts, asking if we could make something awesome. I chuckled and told him, "Patience, kiddo. First we get this ready." Moments like that remind me why I love these little DIY sessions. They're not just about the tools. Then secure the grinder on a bench vise. To make it clear, I demonstrate the sharpening motion first. This one offers the highest efficiency and precision. Using the stacked sandpaper discs allows you to sharpen the knife quickly and accurately with the correct angle and steady, consistent strokes. The discs handle most of the work for you, giving you a sharp, even edge in far less time than traditional methods. It's a technique that maximizes results with minimal effort. Then I switch on the machine and sharpen for real. Now let's test the knife again on a tomato. This time, the blade slices through like butter, so all three tips work successfully. We've turned ordinary items into surprisingly useful tools. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more clever tricks.